am Sharice Josie, and I am here for our weekly Grown Woman Chat. I want to appreciate you all because I had asked, what do we want to talk about this week? And you all voted. So as we're going through this and as we're talking, and you're coming on, I want you to put in the chat for me and tell me how you self-soothe. So I just want to get some ideas of just kind of what you do to self-soothe. I'll talk about what I do, but we're going to get a little bit deeper than that. If you know anything about me in these lives, I do not do surface level work. That's just not my thing. So I like to go a little bit deeper. But tell me how you self-soothe. Just go ahead and put in the chat. Also, let me know that you're here. But yeah, I did a poll. And I said, what would you like to talk about this week? And I had two options. And I was kind of surprised. Self-soothe was the first topic. The other one was, how do you grieve a living person? How do you grieve someone that you are no longer in communication with, or even a situation, but they're here, like you can touch them, but you're still feeling this grief. And I tallied up my Instagram, I tallied up Facebook, and I did in my stories too, and they came out a dead tie, like a tie. So since self-soothe was first, that's the topic this week. Next week topic will be how to grieve a living person or a situation. So as you're jumping in this live, please put in the chat for me. Tell me, as a grown woman, and that's who I'm talking to. I like my grown women. Tell me, how do you self-soothe? What do you do? Right? And just kind of give me an idea about just kind of where you're at with this. So just kind of drop that in the chat. As we go through this, like, comment, let me know that you're here, engage. I'm going to ask you some questions. But we're going to talk about just a little bit deep about what that actually means, okay? So first, why this topic? And when I thought about it, I thought about my lesson and how I needed to learn how to self-soothe as a woman. And as I started to do this as a business, I realized that I am not alone. So I want you to know that you are not alone in this process, because it feels so lonely when we have to self-soothe. Self-soothe means I am taking care of myself and there's no one else around me, right? So why? Because friends all of a sudden become not available. You pick up that phone, you need to vent, they're not there. Let me call you back. Yeah, hey, how you doing? Let me, can I give you a call right back? And sometimes a call back be like 2 days. I don't know if you're one of those people that, don't return text message or phone call. Sometimes it's 2 days. Maybe you might look at your spouse or your partner, or whomever you're with, and you're like, this ain't your topic. Like, I need you to sit this one out, right? Like that is not your go-to. But then what do you do, right? Can somebody else hold for me a space that I need right now in this moment? And when there is no one, or is that feeling that there's no one, then it comes back on else. Well, what do I do with this feeling? What do I do with these things? Deep breaths, prayer, devotional. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's Devin, right? Yeah, I think I know Devin. Yes, I love that. Deep breaths, prayer, devotional. And just, what do you do when you self-soothe? And that's kind of the why, right? Because I feel like I'm alone in this. Or maybe you have your kids going on or something like that. So I'm going to get this out the way. And not because I want to minimize it, but this is not what I like to talk about on my live, which is, what are some therapy techniques to talk about when you want to self-soothe. So I'm going to go through them, and I'm going to go through them real quick, but that is not what I want to focus on in this live. But I want to say, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead to kind of what to do. So some things you can do with self-soothing: if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, telling yourself some positive statements, wrap yourself in some blankets. I do that sleep at night with maybe about 5 layers of like a weighted blanket. I have a sheet, I have a thin comforter, and then I have like a throw blanket. And temperature down low, I am out. So I definitely love the layered blanket. Focus and notice your sensations. So what are you looking at? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? And this is taking you out of those thought processes and more into your body work, okay? Meditation. I think Devin mentioned something about that: meditation, prayer, exercise, reading. Okay, so I'm not minimizing it. And I know I went through that pretty fast. And just because I just don't want to focus on that, really something you can look at on Instagram. You can look at that when you Google. And also, of course, if you see a therapist, you can go into those things and see what works best for you. Just not what I want to focus on today in terms of self-soothing. Want to go a little bit deeper than that. All right. So I want you to drop in the chat for me when you reach out to your friend or your partner or something like that. Tell me what you're looking for. Give me an idea. So just drop it in the chat. What are you looking for to get when you reach out to someone? Hi, Renaya. Hi, Amor. Take a nap. Yes. Amor said you'll pass out with with the blankets and stuff. And that's why you got to turn them down. That's why you have to turn it down low. Turn your AC down. But it's a good night's sleep. Drop in the chat for me. Let me know, what is it that you're looking for when you reach out to your friend in that moment? Drop it in the chat for me. I'm going to tell you what I did. This is what I learned, is that I used to look at some guidance, right? One, if I'm mad or something just happened, something about, okay, it's going to be okay. Yes, yes. Some reassurance. Yep. Yes, tell me it's okay. Tell me I'm not crazy. Just make me feel better in this moment. Something like that I'm looking for, right? When I'm talking to, I don't know why this keeps going out. When I'm talking to, calling my friend, right? Give me some validation that I'm not going nuts, right? This is what I'm calling. And then what happens is when they don't answer, or they're like, hey, let me call you back, I realized I started to get a little annoyed. And the older I get, the more I was experiencing that, because my friends were just busy, right? Life just got complicated. Do y'all have busy friends? Any of y'all have busy friends, or those days where they just was just available? It just becomes a little bit less. Sometimes you have to schedule when we're going to get together or when we're going to talk or something like that. And so when you think about what you are looking for, that tells you about self-soothing, right? What you are looking for with your friend is what you actually need for you. So whatever your answer is, right, what you're looking for from your friend is actually what you need, right? So I want them to listen to me. Do I feel even validated with me to listen to myself, right? Am I hearing what I'm thinking? Am I paying attention to my own thoughts? Right? If I'm calling my friend and I want her to validate my experience, have I taken the time to validate my own experience? No, because I'm still in the heat of my emotions. So I am calling her, right, to help talk me down. Did I learn to self-soothe? No. And just to be honest with you, at one point in time, just as kind of in this process, I started to get mad and resentful at the friendship, because I'm thinking, you're not there for me anymore. I can't count on you anymore. I'm sorry, I keep touching this. This phone keeps going out. I'm not there for you anymore, right? But then I didn't realize, and I didn't let her know that she had gained a job for me, which wasn't fair, right? She had gained a job to help me soothe and be there when I needed her to be there. She was just my friend. And how that became defined, actually, in my mind, it got redefined. I just didn't let her know, because I didn't know, right? And so when I started to realize that I became really dependent on the friendship, meaning the friendship was no longer available for me, then I was like, wait a minute, I need to learn these things for myself. Same thing with the relationship. Same thing with the intimate relationship, right? When we become so dependent upon the person, and then we say, well, this person isn't there for me. What is it that we're looking for from this person? Well, you should be there for me. In what way? In what, how? And is that realistic for this person? Is this your problem to solve, or is this the other person's position to support you? You have to know what that looks like. Okay. So I'm going to talk about people who maybe live alone or don't have a maid, or maybe don't have a lot of friends to call, or those types of situations. We'll talk about that. Like, what if I don't even know who to pick up the phone to, right? Maybe I don't have that mate or something like that. So we're going to talk about that. I just want you to understand first, why am I even calling? What am I doing? What am I looking for? Because what I want you to notice is your self-soothing becoming resentful? Are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling no one's there for me? Do you get in your head with narratives about things? Do you feel like things are just getting dark, cloudy? I don't know, that just no one is there. That's what we're going to deal with tonight. That's why I said I want to get deeper. Now, I did the therapy thing, right? Get your blanket and positive self-talk, and I'm not minimizing any of that at all. Some of those techniques can be very effective. That's just saying what I'm talking about tonight. All right. So when you think about how you self-soothe first, the capacity to self-soothe depends upon the quality that you've been shown or experienced when you grew up about how to take care of yourself. It depends on that, right? So I want you to take a moment, and when you think about when you were younger, when you were a teenager, when you were adult, when was the first time that you felt that you were on your own emotionally? When did you first realize that baby part, the hey, come here, come pick me up, was no longer there? That you were kind of on your own. You kind of got into survival mode. Maybe you had an actual experience when you're like, it hit me, I'm not there, right? I don't have that. I had that experience. I think most of us do have that time. And if you don't know when that time was, I would encourage you to identify that, because that's where your emotional safety ended. Okay. And you have to know that, because you have to know what age you need to begin to learn to self-soothe. How do I begin to take care of myself? Well, first I need to know, when did it end? Right? When did it stop? And I want you to really, really think about that, and really evaluate that. So I don't, I'm trying to think of exactly when. It was probably the series, maybe first when I went to college and still trying to go home and still trying to connect with high school friends, and I realized that they didn't want to check for me anymore. Our lives were different now. So I'm like, oh, okay, this relationship is no longer there anymore. So I have to do something different. That was an experience. Relationships. I'm in a relationship and I'm thinking, yeah, we're together. This is great. Now we not together. This isn't great, right? Wait, I can't call him anymore. Like, what happened, right? So that was a time when I learned to self-soothe. And then I got more reclusive and more protective. So I've said it before in a live when I went to training, and the lady asked me, when have you ever felt safe in a family? And I thought about it. I'm like, the very first time was in the 7th grade that I think about. That's when my emotional development ceased, that I learned later on when I was in the 7th grade. What was a turning point? My parents got divorced. That was a turning point for me, when my emotional protection changed. And I'm like, okay, I didn't have my dad anymore. That was my emotional safety, because I was daddy's little girl and daddy was gone. I didn't expect that. I also didn't realize that it impacted me until so many years later, and how that showed up many years later, when I realized that I had this persona from people, which was true. I mean, I ain't saying it wasn't true, that I was just mean and protective and closed off. And, in those times when I tried to engage, I felt like something wasn't hitting very well. And then I'm thinking, what's going on? What's the disconnect? It's because that safety was gone when I was in the 7th grade. So if you imagine that it started when I was in the 7th grade, I need to do some work to get that back. I need to do some work to understand what that means. Does that make sense? Let me know if it's making sense to you all. Yep. I was thinking about you, Mars. Yeah. I was thinking about you. That's when that emotional, then we get protective, right? It's like, if I don't have that protection, that safety, and it was taken from me when I wasn't expecting it, right? So for me, when my parents got divorced, I was kind of fine with it because they argued a lot. But I didn't know that meant I wasn't going to have my dad anymore. I didn't know that. We didn't do the visitation. My dad was in the military. So he went off to his duty station, wherever that was. I don't know. I was a child. I don't remember. I just know there was periods of time, years, that I just didn't see him. I don't know where he was at some point, sometimes in my life. I'm like, well, how do you go from daddy's girl to him being gone? I was mad, right? And so to say now later on, I want to be in a relationship and I want a close thing, that's something different, right? And then when that didn't work out, now I'm left again to my own devices. Guess what's triggered for me? That loss, that abandonment. I feel alone. What am I going to do? Right? No one's there for me, all those things. And I said, wait a minute. This is when I got divorced. I said, wait a minute. I need to change some things. I don't want to be that angry person. I don't want to be that way. Right? Does that make sense? Let me know. At some point in time, when you said, I'm going to give this a try, you said, I am going to reach out. I am going to share with someone what's going on with me. And someone said to you, not now. I don't have time right now. Call me back. I'll talk to you in a minute, right? Or someone's looking at you thinking, what are you talking about? Or someone questioned, like, why is this important? Like, why are you so hype about this? Why are you so mad? Then they disvalued your entire experience. And then once again, you were left when you needed someone to be there for you. Once again, you were feeling alone, right? And then we're back to that, oh my gosh, I need to take care of this myself. So I'm going to talk about the consequences if you don't learn to self-soothe. I'm going to talk about what it means, but I want to talk about the consequences if you do not. If you do not learn to take care of yourself emotionally, you're going to lack focus because your mind's going to be flooded with, I feel resentment, I feel angry, this is unfair. Why did this person leave me? Why is this person gone? Why don't I have this parent? Why is this person not showing up for me? So when you're focused on that and you have other things to do or other things you want to do, you don't have the energy nor the motivation or sometimes even the care to do it. What happens? Problem number 2, these problems now get compounded, right? I had this one problem and had someone been there for me, I could just move past it. But because they weren't, now my problems are getting layered. They're getting stacked. Can you tell me how dangerous that is? That's dangerous, right? When we start stacking those things. What happens after that? Problem 3, resentment. Resentment builds, right? So, and I told you, I mentioned already about my friend. You know, I was determined she had a job that encompassed all this stuff that I didn't tell her about, right? So what we're going to do right now in this live is that we are not going to figure out how to self-soothe, and we're not going to whatever this thing through it. We are not going to do that. What we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you about exactly what that means and what you need to do for you. But we're not going to kind of whatever this out. That's just not how I operate. I just don't want to do that. All right. So when you self-soothe, I'm sorry, when do you know when you need to self-soothe? You know when you need it. Your body tells you, your mind tells you, you have a lack of patience. You're sick of people breathing around you, right? You're like, why are you walking in front of me? You know when you need to self-soothe, when you feel emotionally or physically exhausted. I know my women, I know myself. We will get into, but I need to do, I need to go, I have to do, as soon as I do this, and I'm going to do that. I respect all of that, and I'm also not going to minimize the reality of some of that. But I need you to know if you can wait on some of those things, if you can redefine them. I need to cook. Maybe you had planned to cook this nice meal that you saw somewhere. I need to cook. You don't need to cook. They need to eat, right? They need to eat. We got peanut butter and jelly. We got 2 things in the house that match. Pick one, right? We got cereal. We got milk. Which one you want? You don't need to cook. They just need to eat. You have to take care of that. That's to mean I'm not going to whatever through this. I'm not just going to figure it out later because you're dismissing yourself. Isn't that what the same person did before? Right? Isn't that what your friend did? Isn't that what your parent did? Right? If you're dealing with grief, what Marshall had mentioned earlier, if you're dealing with grief comes anger and sadness, right? And those same feelings come back up again. We're doing the same thing again. Self-soothing is doing the work. You can feel physically alone, meaning no one's answering the phone, no one is there for you. This Instagram is driving me nuts. No one's there for you. No one is available to you, right? You can feel physically alone, but when you feel mentally alone, the risk has gotten higher. We're not going to feel physically alone, mentally alone. We're not going to feel mentally alone. Okay, that means when you start to get in your head and you start to be like, okay, no one's there for me, no one's available, this is all on me. That's when all this stuff is building. Okay, that's when the risk gets too high. That's what I need you to pay attention to. When my mental starts to get at a high risk, meaning I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling resentment, I'm feeling no one's there for me, I'm feeling forget all y'all, right? It's gotten high. It's gotten high. So I'm going to talk about the do's of this. Yes, pray about it. Yep. Noodles, Alicia, I love you. What are you? Noodles. All right, some do's with self-soothing. Self-soothing, I need you to be repetitive. I need you to be repetitive. I'm going to promise you that this self-soothing process is just that. It's a process. It's a process. It's about you learning yourself and you learning your body and you learning what works for you. Meaning you can't do something one time and say, oh, that was good. When I went through my self-soothing process, I tried so many things. Groupon was my friend. I want to see how I feel in the morning, the afternoon, and the night. I want to see how I feel when I'm around people when I'm alone. I want to see how I feel when the sun's shining outside. I want to see how I feel when it's raining. I want to see how I feel when I call somebody now that I'm learning more, and how do I feel when I'm not. You know what I learned now when I did the work? I don't want to call anybody when I'm in the midst of my stuff because I want to fully understand what is it about this thing that triggered me. Because if I don't get that understanding and if I don't learn how to self-soothe and deal with it on my own, then I can reach out, and I can reach out with a purposeful intent, meaning my friend no longer has an all-encompassing job for me. I can say, I'm calling you because this is what happened. What do you think about this specific thing? I'm being intentional about our relationship. I'm being intentional about my healing. Right? That's the self-soothe for me, because here's the reality. You can't take an independent woman, then make her dependent on somebody else emotionally, and then say this is going to work out. It is not. It is not. You're going to have to be repetitive for you, and you're going to have to make sure you are monitoring your mind and your thoughts. The healing has to be stronger than the discomfort. The goal has to be comfort more than it has to be to problem solve. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. So as you are learning to self-soothe, and as you are thinking about your healing, I want you to know that your mind is your greatest gift. I want you to know that your healing is the greatest weapon that you can have. And I don't mean controlling your mind by saying this isn't it, that I'm going to stop these emotions. I'm going to control it by encompassing and giving my all to it. If it's the ugly cry, I'm going to do the ugly cry. If it's the I want to sit here and just watch a movie because I want to see how my body feels in my own space, that's what I want you to do. And when you're done, and you say, well, now I want to do something, I want to go outside and take a walk. I want you to do that. My pleasure now It's having this time to myself in peace. And sometimes I don't think about calling anybody. I said, because I want to fully encompass this experience and understand it without the influence of someone else about how I should think and feel in this moment. And after that, girlfriend, right? Husband, kids, I will tell you about that. And there are experiences that we're going to share together, but there are things that I need to do for me because I need to learn about my healing. I need to learn what's the next thing to do. I want you to know that you have one more go in you. I saw that with Will Smith today. You have one more goal in you. So when you feel like you're resentment and you feel like you're alone and you feel like you're in this battle by yourself, you got one more goal in you. You have one more go. You stick and you deal with that stuff for yourself and you do what you need to do. Your focus is on your body and not your mind. And when you do that, you go. You got one more go in you. All right. I have enjoyed this. I think some comments in here I don't think I've been looking at. Come through wrap up music. I know, Marshall, I'm trying to keep it together. Marshall's going to have me cry up in this kitchen. I'm trying to keep it together. I want y'all to see me do the ugly cry. But this is some serious work. When I tell you I did this work years ago, it was serious. And I'm telling you, my tears are not in grief. It's in healing. I'm like, this healing work that we are doing is serious. It's like I need to learn to self-soothe of the stuff I didn't get that I thought I should have got. Right? And when I did that work, when I tell y'all I'm a new woman, you can't tell me that. And the process has begun again now with this business and working with you all. It's come again, but I'm enjoying it. It's hard. I'm not going to tell you that it's not hard, but when I tell you it's rewarding, I can't speak no more about that. I can't speak no more about that. And I want you to take this journey with me, and I want to hear about yours. I want to hear about the experience. All right. So y'all done got me on another level on this live. So I'm going to close out. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the engagement and the listening and the healing. That self-soothing is powerful. And when you're done with that, you reach out and you reach out and purposeful. If you're not sure who to reach out and say, you know what, I did my work and I'm good. I did my work and I'm good. I thought I needed you, but I'm here and I'm good. I'm all right with it. All right. Y'all have a good night.